Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of D&D CR Exposed here on my YouTube channel. Yes, I am back at it. It looks like, everyone's happy to see the videos are back, and after a good month of, a video a week, I figured I'd jump back into this and get going again here. So, back to my list, and, getting into this, we will dive into the Graknork. But before we do that, top of the order here is, if you like what you see and you want to support my efforts or get this tool for yourself, then by all means go ahead and hit up my Ko-fi page. It's ko-fi.com/DNDCR Exposed. There'll be a link in the description below. Come by and grab the copy for yourself completely for free, or you can donate if you feel so inclined to. No pressure whatsoever. Enjoy the tool and just use it to build awesome monsters. Second note is that the Tales of the Valiant has finally put out their GM page, their GM book, and yes, there are rules in there for monster creation. So I will be, you guessed it, building a tool from their directions as well. And I've already skimmed it a little bit, and there are some differences, but I will go over that in probably a community post. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump into the Graknork from Tomo Beast 2, which was user supplied for a request here. So if you want to also request a monster to be exposed with its CR, go ahead and fill out the Google form in my link in the description below. Alright, now let's get into this. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this because I didn't reset it from the last monster. And we will jump in here with the Graknork. And we have an AC of 20. And this is going to be a gargantuan monstrosity, so we'll go ahead and pick that. The only reason we're doing that is because it ups the hit points here. You actually don't need to worry about the hit points. If you just wanted to pick hit points from this row and give your monster that, perfect. Don't even worry about it being lined up properly with the amount of d20s. We don't need it necessarily. Okay, from there we will hit 13 d20s from this amount up here. And then we're going to go ahead and fill in the attributes, the monster stats here, 25, 18, 21, and Constitution is the only important one for the tool here, as you'll see in the note, because it helps get the proper amount of hit points, as we see here, 201 to the 201 here. And then we have an Intelligence of 5, 13 Wisdom, and 7 Charisma. And we are expecting a CR of 14, so this will help us update a whole bunch of things here. Now, moving on, we have damage resistances, so bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. More than likely, this isn't going to matter, because at this level, our characters are probably expected to have magical weapons, unless you're running a low magic campaign or not really getting much loot. But anyways, we'll throw that in here just for the sake of having it, and it will add a small amount of a bonus here. So as we can see in the cumulative bonuses, our resistances are giving 1.25 times the amount of hit points. We're getting about plus 50 extra hit points for being resistant to non-magical attacks. We also have damage immunities to cold, but because we don't have 3, we're going to skip over that, and everything else here isn't important. Next, we have some monster traits, and we have Keen Sight. And with the Keen Sight, the Graknork has advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight. We're again going to skip over that because it doesn't matter here. The Graknork doesn't need this to worry about in combat, more or less. Now we're going to go down into the attack sections, and we have the multi-attack here. So the multi-attack is 3 attacks, 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws. Alternatively, it can use its eye ray twice. And if both claws attack, let's see here, both claws attack and hit a large or smaller creature, the creature must succeed on a strength saving throw or take 9 additional slashing damage and be knocked prone. So that is if we hit with both claw attacks. So in theory, you would want to do the claw attacks first, and then you would go ahead and make that bite attack add advantage for having the target knocked prone if they both land. So let's go ahead and throw in our attacks here. I'm going to, just for the sake of it, throw in our dice up at the top here so we can see how this works out. And because we are indeed using strength for the attacks, we're going to see that we're getting 23.5 for our average damage output, which we should see right here, 23. Now we do drop the half die there because we have an odd number of dice, and we just get an 23. So we round down. We always round down in D&D, except for like one instance somewhere in the game here, which I don't recall at the moment. So that's our bite, which is working out properly. Then we also have, let's see here, 3d8 for the claws, and we're using strength So we're getting 20 average, which is perfectly good. And our eye rays are going to be 5d6 for an average of 17. Okay, those are all set up and proper, so we can just go ahead and drop those into our combat workspace here by setting equals and then grabbing the average output area. We can also, since Google wants to autofill, we can go ahead and autofill. Oh, I'm not going to do that because it just copied all of the borders for some reason. So we'll go ahead and grab this one here as well. And then those are our attacks. We also have a freezing eye, which recharges on a 5 or a 6, which means we should technically only see this once every 3 rounds of combat. And because we're only calculating for 3 rounds of combat, we should only technically see this once. So for the freezing eye, Graknork's blue eyes flare open and release a beam of icy energy in a 120-foot, 10-foot wide line. Dex saves. Failed creatures take 35 cold damage and is restrained for 1 minute. On a success, the creature takes half the damage and isn't restrained. So, again, with something like this, we expect 2 failed amounts of damage here. This means it can be 4 successfuls, or it could be 1 success and 2 successes and 1 failed, or 2 failures, or some combination in between there. But we always calculate for at least 2 full rounds of damage here. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in. So we're going to say 35 times 2 for 2 failed saves worth, and we have 70, which we can only use once. Now, as for our multi-attacks, we have 2 options here. We can say a bite and 2 claws. So we go ahead and do the bite plus that. And then we have a second multi-attack, which is just the eye rays times 2. So right off the bat, we're seeing that our claws and bites are going to be the better option, but if our Graknork is at ranged, we will go ahead and use the ranged multi-attack as well. Or also just using the freezing eye ray if we have the perfect line for that, which we may. Okay, I don't believe we have any legendary actions for the monster, which we don't, because we're going into the next one here, which is a dragon. And from there, we will then go ahead and just finish up our monster here. So one thing I didn't include was the attack bonus. So we'll go ahead and throw that in here. So our attack bonus is going to be a plus 12 on all of our melee attacks, and because our melee attacks are going to be doing more damage, and we're going to be doing more of those, we're going to use the attack bonus here instead of the DC from the freezing eyes, because the freezing eyes will only technically be used once. We could have that anywhere between 2 to 4 targets, but if that's not the case, even still, with 3 attacks coming from the melee, or even 2 from the ranged attacks, we're going to see this more often. So we're going to go ahead and say for the first round of combat, we're going to go and use the eye rays, because we would probably start off with that if we had the perfect line to hit at least 2 targets minimum. And then from there, we would go into the multi-attack twice. So we'll do that, and then we'll do that for our main multi-attacks, and I believe that is everything. So, from the looks of things here, everything looks right. We have ourselves a DC 13 Graknork from Tome of Beasts 2 with a OCR 12, which means our offensive CR rating is 12, which is a little less than our 13, and our defensive rating is 14, which means this monster is more of a tank. A little more tanky than, being there for the offensive values. Okay, so our monster here is actually a little underrated, surprisingly. Usually custom monsters are way overrated, which is kind of funny. So the last thing we're going to check here is the resistances. Now, as I said before, at this level with the CR14 monster, our characters usually will have magical weapons to bypass a lot of this stuff that we can forget anyways. So with that, we will see that our monster drops down to a CR12 and is even easier to kill, which is, unfortunate. The best thing you could do to make things a little easier, especially with this, is probably just increase the damage here. If we were to say, I don't know, let's quickly change these to 5d10s and 5d8s. Now we're going into the 13 range without any kind of extra modifications. If we do 6 here and 6 here, now we're at a 14. We have a pretty deadly monster offensively and a less tanky monster. So now we've swapped our monster to, more of an aggressive monster, which technically I think D&D wants anyways. They want higher damage values and lower hit points to get these combats over faster. Anyways, that is the Graknork, a CR 14, quote-unquote 14 monster here, which we actually found out to be a 13, and to make things pretty quick, just increase, actually change the two main dice from 3s to 6s, and we have ourselves a CR 14. All right, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of D&D CR Exposed with the Graknork from Tome of Beasts 2. Again, if you like what you've seen, stick around. We will have more next week, another monster to take a look at, and I hope to see you in the comments there. Let me know what monsters you want to see next. Heck, throw them in the comments. You don't have to put them in the Google form. I don't care. Comment below, and I will get them in my list to add to future videos. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.